Hi guys, welcome back. I know it's been a long time since we've posted, but a lot has happened since then. So we just wanted to sit down and kind of tell you guys what has been happening since, I believe, like 6 months. Yeah. So we'll go ahead and start with the first thing, which was our house. So we had this house built and it's going to be 2 years old this month, the end of this month. And we have had issues with this house from the beginning. It's all constructional issues, I would say. So we've had plumbing, electrical, and now a mold issue. So one day we randomly seen that we had mold in the corners of our walls and behind our bed. Thankfully, we don't have a lot of furniture, so it wasn't like growing behind anything else. It was our couch.
It was. And it was a quick growth too. It was something that just came up and just started growing like really fast. We didn't even have time to say like, oh, look, there's mold. Let's keep an eye on it.
Yeah. So when it initially happened, we reached out to the builders. Thankfully, I went through the house when we first got this house and submitted tickets for everything, just because we seen that, we are running into a lot of issues with the new house. So I did submit tickets for everything, one of those being high humidity levels. And now it all makes sense for why.
Yeah, because we do have air filtration coming through the house as well, which is part of it.
Yeah, so when they came to remediate the mold, they cut our drywall, which is currently still in that state. But we noticed that there was airflow coming from our outlet boxes. So if you put your hand there, you could definitely feel it. I felt it on my face when I was checking our mold around the carpet. And it was so strong that it could blow a piece of like toilet paper up, like it was like flapping. So we altered the remediation until we found out what was going on with that. And we still haven't found out what was going on with that. They did remove all the affected areas that we know of so far. And we have air scrubbers and dehumidifiers running in our house like at all times. They're so loud. So right now they're off. And we're still trying to find the cause of that. They removed all of our insulation from our attic upstairs. We
got a couple of holes in the ceiling.
Yes, one right there.
Right.
Yeah, so I'll give some clips of what our house is currently in. But they did hire a industrial hygienist, and he has been doing tests around our house. So hopefully we find the source of that. They think it's a leaking duct. So like right here, they think it's somewhere in here that's causing the airflow. But regardless, it's caused damage to our house, and hopefully it hasn't caused any damage to our health. Thankfully, we on top of our health, so we found it quickly. That's not the only thing that's wrong with this house, but that's just one. Our electrical is just really sometimes like you'll lose power in just random spots of the house. So that's getting looked at too. And our plumbing. So it's just an ongoing thing. Be careful when you buy a new built home, especially in the state of Florida.
Yeah.
Really good, and be careful with that. Now we have to talk to actual professionals, and this isn't the smartest thing to do.
No.
We had an older house. Our first house was an 80s model.
That was
I love that home.
Yeah.
We redid the home. We customized it to how we liked it. And we did never run into this many problems.
No, that home was really sturdy. I mean, if you buy a home that's older, in the 1980s, 1990s,
have more character.
You're going to have a better home. These new homes nowadays, they're just throwing on there because they're production homes. They manufacture them real quick. And
now that, our house was built, we moved in, and then I watched our neighbor's house get built. And I wish I would have been pregnant when my house was getting built. I don't think I would have chose this one, but we're here and now we have to fix these problems. And, who knows what we'll do after this. But this house was just...
Yeah, I feel like this is going to be an ongoing issue for a little while.
Yeah, I feel we don't actually had gotten removed since the time. I'll make a video probably talking about everything about our house, but right now I just don't want to talk too much because right now we're working with the construction team, but you never know what direction that's going to go. Our health has been put at risk a couple of times where I've had to stop work.
Yeah.
Thankfully, we kind of know some about construction and health. So we're just being very vigilant on that.
Very aware of all the situations. So it's been a slow process, but we'll get there eventually. I don't know how much longer of this.
We've learned a lot.
Yeah.
We've learned a lot about, the HVAC system. We've learned a lot about mold.
Yeah.
We've learned a lot. But, and then while we were dealing with the house, we found out that we were pregnant. My pregnancies are extremely scary and complicated, to say the least. I deal with something called a subchorionic hematoma, so that it's a blood clot. Sorry. So a subchorionic hematoma is a blood clot that is in between the womb and the uterus. It's something that I didn't know that I dealt with until I moved here to the state of Florida. And my last pregnancy was extremely scary. I had a large subchorionic hematoma where they sent me to maternal fetal medicine. And looking back, I've dealt with this now with every one of my pregnancies. My first pregnancy, I bled through the entire pregnancy. The second one was on and off. The third one, I passed the blood clot 2 weeks after having my son. And it's just been with every pregnancy. We didn't know what the survival rate was going to be with our last son because the subchorionic was right beside the placenta. Okay. And it was considered large. So thankfully, the subchorionic hematoma was fine throughout the pregnancy. The ending part, like labor delivery, was terrifying.
It was very terrifying.
When our last son was born, his umbilical cord was wrapped around him multiple times, around his legs, his neck, his arm, everywhere. When he came out, he was gray. His eyes were bulging. He had pressure dots. So basically, if you hold your breath, or when a small child throws a tantrum, you'll get these little red dots, and then his body was just covered in spacing everything. And so it was a very scary delivery. So when our last son was born, it was extremely traumatic. So we didn't think that we were going to have any more children from that point. So finding out that we were pregnant again, I think up fear.
I really did.
And both of us. So during my last pregnancy, my doctor wanted to see why we've had reoccurring miscarriages. We've had 3 before that pregnancy, and she started doing some testing. One of those being antiphospholipid syndrome. So that is a blood clotting disorder. You can look more into it. It's kind of scary. So we thought, I might have had that. So that test requires 2 different blood drops. So you do one, and then a few weeks later, you do another. So if you're positive on one, that means that you could possibly have antiphospholipid syndrome. If you're negative with both, that means that you're fine. So I was positive for one of those. So this time around, my new doctor was looking at my previous testing and said that those were inconclusive just because the test wasn't finished. And on top of that, a lot of other testings were not performed. So that's when she had ordered a ton of testing.
It was a lot.
So this time around, we thought everything was going to be okay just because the subchorionic hematoma was on the opposite side of the placenta. It was also considered very small. So I thought everything was going to be okay. We didn't know that we were dealing with other things. So I was going to my doctor. She was running the test. I was also getting private ultrasounds done just for our peace of mind. I also deal with something called an HG pregnancy. So basically, it's where you have extreme nausea. Light affects you. You can't drink water. You can't get out of bed, basically.
And you have been doing that with all the prepieces, not just one.
Yeah, so when I'm pregnant, I am out of commission completely. Eating is very difficult. I always end up going to the emergency room just to get rehydrated. So it was not, an easy time, but everything was going okay. So we did find out that he was a boy, and we named him Ezekiel. Shortly after that, we went to a private ultrasound, and there was no heartbeat. So they directed us to go to the emergency room, which barely confirmed that there was no heartbeat. So that's when they took me upstairs to labor and delivery. And I just wasn't ready to go through that experience. So my doctor scheduled me for an induction, which implied she did it because I think if I would have had to go through that the same day, it would have been bad. So when the induction date came, we went to the hospital, and I wasn't prepared for how hard that was going to be. Emotionally, I knew it was going to be hard, but the physical, I don't think I was prepared.
It was tough to say the least. My wife lost a lot of blood during the process. There was a lot of clotting. She passed out quite a lot of times. It was very scary. One point, it looked like she was going to pass away. The doctors were assuring that everything was okay. Things weren't looking okay, so very scary. So after we got through everything, my wife got out to walk to the restroom, and she ended up passing out. The doctor called me to help her, so we got her down to the floor. She was stiffening up really hard. We didn't know what was going on. She ended up calling for some help, and then after a little while, we got her back with some of the, what is that called? Ammonia. She came back. We walked her back to the bed. So at that point, the doctor ended up offering her a blood transfusion because she had lost way too much blood during the process. And, even that part was very scary. It ended up causing a blood clot in her arm during the transfusion.
So if my body actually went and to like an allergic reaction with the blood transfusion. I guess some people are allergic to blood transfusions or the blood, and my body started rejecting it. So my whole chest started getting tight. I couldn't breathe. I started coughing. And at first, analysis, they thought I was going into a panic attack. It was so bad. And then I had to have multiple bags. So we had to go slow, and the doctor stopped everything. I had to take medication to be able to receive the blood, but I then started getting a blood clot from here down to here. So that is one thing that happened. After that, we got our test results back, and I got diagnosed with MTHFR, which is a genetic mutation. So that's one of the diagnoses. She's testing me. She believes that there's something more major going on. So I do have additional blood work to go to. I have to go see a cardiologist and a hematologist because I have a clotting disorder. So with that being a genetic condition, I do want to get the kids tested for that. And I kind of wish doctors would have tested me when I was younger, because I was unaware.
So they do have methylated vitamins that you can take for the MTHFR, which we have ordered and currently taking. We are giving our kids vitamins as well, because we want to make sure that, they have what they need. But your body, if you have that mutated gene, your body does not filter things out correctly. So
especially folic acid. Yeah. So everybody methylates. It actually happens 1 billion times per second, and it's in every cell in your body. So everyone who has this can have different symptoms. I think mine's more physical. So I've always had heart issues. So my heart can get up to 190, and it just keeps going. If I'm taking a shower, if I work out, it's just random. I also have just pain throughout my body.
And I don't think you're taking the vitamins that you need.
Yeah. So that kind of makes
your body
more sense. Now this gene can actually make things go really bad. So it can cause heart problems or other things. So that's why I'm going to the cardiologist and the hematologist, because the blood clotting disorder, my family actually has a lot of history with that. So I think it's really important that I find out as much information that I can to be able to change my lifestyle. That way it doesn't get worse. Also, if my kids have it, then we can take action now before it gets to a certain point. So it's nothing new. I've obviously was born with this. And now I just need to cater to my body.
I think it worsens the older you get.
Yeah. So that's kind of where we've been. And so we're ready to get back to YouTube. We have a lot of fun with it. I was actually, stockpiling videos. I was recording like 3 to 4 videos a day and scheduling them out. I think I have like 5 months for videos. So I think it'll be good to have like an outlet to, create and get back into everything. I've just recently got back into my morning routine, and he's been helping me tremendously. And just getting back into our schedule and
making her back into the flow of it now. And with the kids back in school.
Yeah. And, helping the kids through this process. I think they all take it differently. And it was very important that we kind of, were the examples of when hard things happen. So we did think about that during the time that we were going through that.
So we are excited to come back and, share more things that we have in mind with you guys. We really enjoyed the audience that we have and hope to see some more people join us.
So I don't know how long I'm going to leave this video up. I never want to put content out there that could trigger somebody else that, maybe went through something similar. And, healing is a journey. And sometimes seeing content that can trigger, thoughts and emotions aren't always the best. So I do want to explain where we've been, and that's where we've been. But I also don't want to trigger anybody into, those emotions and feelings. Yeah. So I will leave this up for probably a while. If it disappears, that's the reason. I might make a video more informational about this process, because I don't mind sharing things that I go through, because life happens to all of us. And sometimes, hearing somebody else's situation can help you. I didn't know about all these testings and, reasons of miscarriage. I think if I would have, then this might have been preventable. So maybe later on down the road, I will make a video explaining everything from start to finish and kind of the information that I've learned from the doctors, in hopes that it could help somebody else out there that's going through this. So that's about it. That's where we've been. And I think we're both excited to get back.
Very excited.
Into the group of everything, including YouTube.
Yeah, and we want to thank you guys for sticking with us. I know it's been a few months, so we're really thankful for that.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
Bye.